everyone, so this video is going to be my end of September updates. The first thing I want to talk about is my flask of Epidendrum ciliare. In my last video I had talked about the issue with rotting on some of the plants inside the flask, and I noticed it started to get worse, so I thought it would be better if I just took them out. So right now they're in this container. I couldn't find two containers, so both the rotting one and the nice ones are in here. I just realized this morning I should probably put a divider inside. So inside there's a plastic divider. So far, I mean, it's only been like a few days, but so far things are okay. The leaves are turning purple, but I think it's because the light is too strong where I kept it, so I'm going to move it somewhere where there's a bit less light. So the next thing I want to talk about is the losses I had this month. As you can see here, this is my Dendrobium cruentum. I tried putting it in a tray with damp sphagnum moss to see if anything would grow along the canes, any keikis, but so far nothing, and the pseudobulbs are yellowing near the base, so I think this is no longer really alive. So that really sucks. I really wanted to save it, but some things can't be saved, especially if you make a mistake. So that's one of them. Two other plants I lost this month are the Gongora gibba and Stanhopea gibbosa. I think they both had a similar problem where I had kept it too wet with the new growths and they ended up rotting off. In the case with the Gongora gibba, not only did the new growth rot off, but the older pseudobulbs were also starting to go, and it had no roots when I unpotted it. And with my Stanhopea, it had like no pseudobulbs left, and whatever pseudobulbs I did have, they were really tiny and they also just rotted, so that kind of sucks, but it happens, I guess. Another thing you'll notice as I go through all my plants, there are two that are missing. One is the Ascocentrum miniatum, the small one, and the Phalaenopsis NOID, the one with the sunset colors, the mounted one. And that's because I decided to give those away to the Orchid Society. So I donated it to the raffle and people won them. So that's good for them and it's good for me. So I have a little bit more space now, so that's great. One last thing that's new is I have two new acquisitions, but I'll go through them when I go through my plants, only because one of them I really don't want to move. It's doesn't quite have a good root system because it came bare root from H&R Nurseries, but I'll talk about it when I get there. So this is my Phal NOID, white with purple spots, and the new leaf is growing really nicely here. This is my Aerides flabellata, and I've moved it back to this location. There's only one light here, so the light is going to be a lot less intense, so I'm hoping the purpling will die down. And this is my Paraphalaenopsis, and it's growing a new leaf. It's doing pretty good, so I'm pretty happy. So this is my Vanda cristata, and as you can see, this keiki, its latest leaf is kind of curving inwards as opposed to outwards. And there's another leaf growing inside, so what I'm hoping is it's able to make its way kind of out eventually. I don't really like the way it's curved like that, and it's happened on a couple other Vandas before, but I'm still not sure why that's happening. So this is my birthday Phal NOID. It has a new leaf growing here, which is great, and on the other side it has a flower spike, so that's very exciting. As much as I like the setup here, it's not super practical when you have cats. Oftentimes I find this kind of like knocked over, but it's a hardy plant. As you can see, it's growing, so I'll leave it like this for now. So this is my Ascocentrum garayi, and it has a new leaf. So this is my Rhynchorides Bangkok sunset, and it's still doing nothing. I have a feeling there's a little bit too much light here, so I want to move it down on the table, but the problem is that the roots are they've grown past the basket, so it doesn't really sit flat, but I'll figure out what to do. This is my Ionocidium popcorn Haruri, and it seems like the mites issue has been resolved as that new growth has grown and is doing pretty well. This is my NOID Dendrobium, which looks suspiciously like a kingianum, but regardless, it has a new growth starting there. So this is my Neofinetia falcata Hakucho, and the little growth down there appears to be getting a little thicker, so I think it's actually growing now. Oh yeah, another thing I should mention is I moved it from the top shelf to this one, just so I can make more room up there. This is my SLC, World Vacation Shibuya Sunset, and that new growth is progressing along nicely. I don't see anything inside, so I don't think this will bloom, but we'll see. So this is my Epidendrum ciliare, the one with the roots, and the roots are growing really nicely. The eye on the plant, though, hasn't budged yet, so still waiting on that. So this is my Dendrobium antennatum cross, and what I think is the spike really hasn't done much, so I'm going to try watering it without fertilizer for a while, see if that helps. This is my RLC little Toshie, and the new growth seems to be progressing nicely. So this is my Galliandra bowery. The flowers are dying. Some have died already, but I have a couple new buds there. This is my Vanda obliquiana, and it's pushed out a couple new roots, so I think it's liking the setup. This is my Dendrobium Sherry Abe, and its new growth is progressing nicely. This is my Paphinia rugosa. So what happened was I didn't see much activity, so I thought it wasn't doing well. So I unpotted it, and it did have one root, but I accidentally broke it off. So I'm trying to get more root growth out of this. In all honesty, I probably should have just left it in the basket, but I was just too curious. So now I'm dealing with this. This is one of my new acquisitions. It's Cattleya dormaniana, and I got this from H&R Nurseries when they visited our Orchid Society earlier this week. Right now it's bare roots. Trying to encourage new root growth. I know it has a couple available eyes as well for new growths. So after doing some research, this particular Cattleya requires a rest, especially after it blooms, but I don't think it's at that stage yet. This is my Dendrobium coroniferum, and its new growth is doing pretty well. I'm really trying to push the growth as much as I can with the amount of time I have left. So yeah, hopefully I'll get quite a bit bigger before December hits. You're probably wondering why I have these in cups, and that's because there's a lot of algae right now in the pot, so it's hard for me to see the roots, and that's just to block off the light to hopefully kill off the algae, just so I can see the roots a bit better. This is my Phal javanica, and it has a new leaf starting. This was the latest leaf. But it's not as big as the other ones. It's a lot wider than the previous leaf, but not as long. It did bloom for me, but again, the flower didn't really open. The flower is also fragrant, but you really have to go up close to it to feel the scent. This is my Phalaenopsis cornu-cervi latte, and it has a new leaf. This is my Dendrobium scabrilingu, and its new growth is doing pretty okay. I was worried that it might rot like my Dendrobium christianum, so I removed some of the moss, and yeah, it's doing well. This is my Chelonostellae sulfurea. Not much is happening, but I definitely think there's too much light here, so I think I'm going to move this to the living room. So this is my other new acquisition. I won this from a raffle at our last society meeting. It is Dendrobium Wianum. It doesn't have a tag, but at the raffle table it had a little label there, so I will need to create a tag for this. This is my Chisis levis, and I'm really happy with the progress it's made. From this angle, you can see how fat the pseudobulb got, so that's really great. And on this side, it has a new root tip starting, and this bump here is actually a new growth, so that's great. I'm not really happy that it's growing further up the cane, but it's growing, so I'm not complaining about that. So this is my Bracteosum, and it looks like there's another leaf that's coming out. I do think the issue with the mites has been resolved. I did end up losing a few leaves though, but the little, just where the flower spike would start, hasn't really done much, so yeah. So while I started filming the top shelf, I noticed that my Cloecia Rebecca Northern Cubby has mites now, so I gotta deal with that. Not really sure where they came from, because my other plants seem to be fine, at least on that shelf. So this kind of sucks, but I think I'll be able to resolve that. So this is my Catasetum cross, and I was lucky that it rebloomed for me this year, which is great. I'm not going to do a bloom video on this only because I've done it before, and I really don't like the way this is grown. It's super sideways or like bent. I'll be shuffling some things around, probably during, well, later this year, just so I can get better growth out of this one. Yeah, so I took this to the Orchid Society meeting just to show everyone my blooms, but unfortunately, a couple of the flowers popped their pollen, or pollinia. So 2 of the flowers don't look super great, but yeah, I'm very happy that I was able to rebloom this. So that was very exciting when I saw the flower spike. Here's a close-up of the flowers. I really like different breeded lips. And the nice thing about this plant is the leaves are still clean, mite free. This is my Bulbophyllum harbotinum, and it has a new growth right there. I'm questioning it, whether it likes this setup. I have a feeling it's not moist enough. Maybe it needs to be in a plastic pot and not this, what do you call it? I think this is feather rock. But I have a new growth, so that's good. It doesn't seem like it's going to be very big, but we'll see. This is Bulbophyllum Princess Bajaratana, and it has a new growth. This is my Bulbophyllum Fascinator, and this is the latest growth. No signs of spikes right now. I'm having a bit of trouble with this plant only because it keeps tipping over. Like, I accidentally bump it and then I knock other things over, so I think I might hang this one. This is my Stanhopea nigroviolacea Batman, and the new growth is progressing really nicely. Oops. And if you look closely, the leaves are really nice and clean, so I feel like the mites issue has been resolved here. This is my Coryanthes missaceae, and its new growth is doing pretty well. This is my Rhynanthera monachica, and it has a new leaf. This is my Aerides punctata, and it's growing a new root. So my Sophronides cernule has a new growth, and it's progressing quite well. This is my Rodriguezia lemanii, and as you can see, that new growth has done a lot better after I sprayed it. And last but not least, this is my Polycytnus barbata, and its new growth is coming along nicely. Again, I'm trying to keep this moist but not too wet to avoid rotting it. Okay, so that's my video for today. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.